Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm a youth librarian with Kent District Library, and I am here today to talk to you about some of my favorite titles for teens that I've been reading lately. So, the books that I've been focusing on this week are some teen nonfiction titles. Now, for a long time, I really wasn't into nonfiction. It just really didn't catch my interest. But over the past several years, I've really gotten into it. Took some looking about, finding different interests, and finding different titles that really caught my eye and just pulled me in right away. So that's what I've been focusing on this week for you and finding some that I really think that you'll like. My first book that I have for you today is called Terrible Typhoid Mary. Its full title is The True Story of the Deadliest Cook in America. It's by Susan Campbell Bartoletti, and it tells the story of Mary Malone, who lived in the early 1900s, turn of the century, in the United States, mostly in the New York area. And she was lived primarily as a cook. So some of you might be thinking, well, goodness gracious. Yes, this is a timely title, but it sounds like a bit of a downer with everything that's going on. I hear you, but I really enjoyed this book. This is my second time reading it, and I think it's really fantastic, and it's so eye-opening and sheds so much light on how we go about handling diseases and epidemics today. So let me tell you a little bit about Mary Malone, aka Typhoid Mary. Mary Malone came from Ireland in the late 1800s. We don't really know a lot about Mary. She was a very, very private person. There's only one letter that survives of hers. It's 6 pages long, and that's really the only correspondence that we have from her. We know that she lived with her parents in Ireland, and they survived the potato famine. They lived in Northern Ireland. And when she was in her teens, probably around 15 years old, she decided to come to the United States. More than likely, her tales of opportunities to get a better life, and that's probably what spurred on that decision. So she came to the United States, moved in with her aunt and uncle in New York, and about a year after that, they both died. So Mary is on her own now, and she's really got to make things work. So what she does is she starts off as a fairly lowly servant, doing small jobs, and she works her way up. She's a really hard worker. She does everything she can, and pretty soon she's in high society, working as a fantastic cook for all these very fancy, affluent families. So our story opens, and she's working for this family, the Warrens. And the Warrens are in their fancy summer home that they rent out every summer. And they need a cook. Their last cook just either quit or got fired. It's one or the other there. And Mrs. Warren is like, I need a cook now. I've got all these fancy parties. And she calls this agency to send her a cook. They're like, we've got the perfect cook for you. It's Mrs. Mary Malone. And so they send Mary over. She's fantastic. She makes fantastic meals. And one of her best meals that she makes is this dessert, this fantastic ice cream. And their favorite flavor that Mary makes is this ice cream with fresh peaches from a local orchard. So everyone loves it. Everything's great. And then about a month in, one of the daughters in the family falls ill. And everyone's like, well, she probably just isn't feeling too good. Then she gets sicker and sicker. And then more and more people get sick in the family, and then servants fall sick. And the doctors are called in. Some of them have to go to the local hospital. Things aren't looking too well. But no one knows what the cause of it is. I mean, we're in the early 1900s. We don't have a lot of knowledge about how diseases work. In fact, we just came up with the idea of germs and how they're these little things, and guess they're a real thing, and they cause you to get sick. So life goes on. Everybody miraculously gets better. We're feeling okay. But there's all this gossip about how the Warrens' house is gotten all these people ill, and they just can't handle that. So they hire this individual to see what's going on. And this guy's name is George Sober. Now, might be like, oh, he must be like a medical practitioner of some sort. No, let me show you a picture of fantastic George here. One thing I really like about this book is there are so many great pictures from the past. So here's our lovely George. Check him out there. Looks very dignified, very serious. George is what he refers to himself as an epidemic hunter, which is a great title, really fantastic. He's technically a sanitary engineer, and he makes it his cause to figure out what is causing these illnesses. And they discover it's typhoid. And so he's searching all over, trying to find clues for what is causing typhoid. And then they figure out it's wherever Mary goes, she spreads typhoid, but she's never been physically sick. And so she's what they call a healthy carrier. And everyone is terrified. And so Mary's just quitting job after job after job, and George is going after her, and things get ridiculous. So he's hiding in all these bizarre places, trying to jump out, get her, basically put her away in sanitary or in solitary confinement from the rest of the world. And the book is just insane. It's like nothing you would ever imagine happening in today's world. So if you are looking for a look into the world and how life was back in the day and how we handled diseases back then, this book is for you. Check it out. It's very good. So you can find Terrible Typhoid Mary with your KDL card. You can check it out as a physical book, or you can also get it on Hoopla as an e-audiobook. It's very good. Now, next book I have for you. It's a little bit more fun, not as much death and sickness. It's called Brazen Rebel Ladies Who Rocked the World. I apologize that we're sideways here. Now, this one is a graphic novel, and again, it's nonfiction. It's delightful. It's a bunch of little snippets of all of these incredible women who lived throughout history and who have changed the world in some shape or form. So I marked a couple that are my favorite. Also, the art in this book is phenomenal, and the use of color is really great. It's by Penelope Bagua. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing her name. She's French. I took Spanish. I'm very sorry. So, we've got some cool people in this book. We have got, for example, Nzinga, who is queen of Ndongo and Matamba. Now, check out this amazing woman. There she is right here. So, she was the fourth of 4 children to her father, who was a chieftain, and she was his favorite, but he died in battle. And her older brother took power, and she decided she just couldn't deal with that. And so she slowly, over time, takes more and more power from him by saying that she was going to do the boring things, like, I'll handle all the politics and such. And eventually she becomes this incredible, powerful chieftain herself, and is able to broker all of these peace agreements and keep her people safe. She's amazing. Then we've got Annette Kellerman, who's one of my faves. She is right here. So she developed polio as a young girl, and her legs were in not great condition as a child, and her doctor recommended that she swim. So she swam all the time, and her legs amazingly healed from all this swimming. And she went on to do swimming competitions and broke all of these records against men and women, and decided that she was not happy with the way that women's swimsuits looked, and so she created her own types of swimsuits, which were considered so scandalous for the times that she actually got arrested the first time she wore one on a beach because it showed too much leg. Gasp. She went on to do films. She went on to do write books, create different diets that were like seriously like helpful, and she made a really huge difference throughout the world. So, if you're looking for some fun characters who lived throughout history, check out Brazen. It's so good. My final book that I have for you today is called Illegal. It's by Owen Colfer. I pronounced his name Ian Colfer and Eoin Colfer as a child for a very, very long time. He wrote the Artemis Fowl books. Love those books. So, Illegal is another graphic novel. This one isn't technically nonfiction, but it is based on a lot of different stories of immigrants, migrants, and refugees throughout Syria and Niger. And in the back of the book, there's a story that is indeed nonfiction. And so a real account of one migrant story. So this book is about this boy named Ebo. He's 12 years old. It's about his story of fleeing his country to find his older brother. And Ebo has been living on his own in his village, which is just being ravished by war, by famine. And it shows how, in order to discover where his brother has gone, he has to cross the Sahara Desert, and he experiences doing that through paying traffickers this horrible amount of money. It's super unsafe. He's abandoned by all these people at one point. Then once he does find his brother, then they have to try to make enough money in order to cross the sea to get to Italy. And all the while, they're trying to find their sister as well. So it's a really powerful story. The art, again, is really beautiful. Colors are really vivid. And it just does a really good job of showing what's going on and weaving together all these stories that Owen Colfer collected and making this really beautiful and poignant narrative. So, if you are interested in reading Illegal, you can do that with your KDL card, and you can find it as a physical graphic novel or a physical book on CD or a physical playaway at your library, or as an e-audio book on Hoopla. And those are my books that I have for you today. So I hope you're all having a lovely day. I hope that you've had a great week and that you're enjoying the sunshine and this warm weather. And until then, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.